All right, so ready to dive into the world of high finance. We've got a ton of RoleCatcher excerpts on brokerage firm directors. And let me tell you, it's got even me daydreaming about Wall Street a little. Thinking of trading in your own gig for a shot at the big leagues.
That's the vibe I'm getting from these excerpts. And yeah, RoleCatcher doesn't sugarcoat it. This career path is intense. No clocking in and out for this one.
No kidding. Right off the bat, RoleCatcher hits you with the time commitment, long hours, crazy schedules, weekends. What weekends? Got to keep up with those global markets.
It's a 247 game, for sure. And it's not just you and a calculator either. RoleCatcher really emphasizes the global aspect. A
Mm.
director in New York might be working with London and Tokyo all in the same day. So yeah, long hours, A&D juggling time zones, always on call.
Wow, so much for work-life balance. This is like work-life merger. No wonder they suggest strong coffee in their career guide. But seriously, what kind of person thrives in that environment, according to RoleCatcher? Who are these brokerage firm directors?
Well, caffeine aside, they describe someone who lives for pressure. It's high stakes, high reward all the time. And it's not enough to just be good with numbers. Of course, you need that financial foundation. But RoleCatcher dives into the soft skills, too. Active listening, negotiation, even a bit of salesmanship. They actually say it's like a strategic chess game, but with real money.
Okay, now that's a visual. So it's not just about knowing the markets, but knowing people, reading them, understanding them, outmaneuvering the competition even. I can see why these roles get so much respect and those paychecks.
Hmm.
But hold on, line. You don't just stroll into the corner office, right? How does RoleCatcher say you climb that corporate ladder?
It's definitely a climb, not a sprint. RoleCatcher lays out a pretty classic path. You might start as a brokerage assistant, move up to junior broker, then with experience and, success, finally hit that senior broker, the director level. More responsibility each step of the way, more client interaction, and of course, bigger impact on the firm's bottom line.
So learning the ropes, building your rep, proving you can handle those real money chess moves.
Exactly. And that's where things get interesting, because RoleCatcher throws in a curveball,
Yeah.
technology, AI specifically.
Oh, here's where RoleCatcher goes full sci-fi on us. They talk about AI doing everything, analyzing jobs, writing resumes, even giving interview feedback. Is this the future of finance or what?
That's the million-dollar question, right?
Yeah.
AI is everywhere in finance these days. Some people see it as a threat, but RoleCatcher, how to put it? Imagine. Imagine AI as like this super-powered calculator, but for your career. It crunches tons of data, sees patterns in job descriptions, even suggests changes to your resume. But it can't replace, the human touch, the strategy, the gut feeling, being able to connect with people.
So AI gets your foot in the door, but you still got to wow them in person. I like
Yeah.
that, like having a secret weapon, but you got to know how to use it. But back to that career ladder. When you go from assistant to junior broker all the way up to director, do the skills needed change? What does RoleCatcher say about that transition?
It's interesting. The higher you climb, the more it becomes about leadership, strategy, less about the purely technical stuff. Of course, you need to know finance, trading, risk management, all that. But as director, it's bigger picture stuff. Setting the vision, overseeing teams, building relationships with those big clients. You're basically the captain navigating the ship through all the financial storms.
So less about making trades, more about making sure your team is on point, keeping those big clients happy. That's pressure. RoleCatcher mentions how demanding it is, but do they get into specifics? Like, what's a day like?
They talk about the long hours, always staying ahead of the game, but where RoleCatcher gets really insightful is with risk. See, even though there's huge earning potential, there's also the downside. Markets are unpredictable. Even the best directors can face losses.
That's where those risk management skills come in, huh? Like walking a tightrope. Big rewards, but also managing other people's money.
Exactly. And don't forget all the rules and regulations, which change all the time. A brokerage firm director needs to be on top of compliance, ethics, the whole 9 yards. It's not enough to just play the game. You got to play by the rules. And those rules can change overnight.
So adaptable, decisive, comfortable with risk, but also playing it straight. That's a lot. RoleCatcher talks about continuous learning being huge in this field. What does that even look like, practically speaking?
Well, hopefully not just all-nighters with textbooks. But you've hit on something important. RoleCatcher really emphasizes being a lifelong learner in this job, staying ahead of the curve, getting certifications like the CFA Chartered Financial Analyst, which shows deep knowledge of investment and portfolio management, or the FRM, Financial Risk Manager, all about, risk, and of course, staying current. Conferences, financial news, it never really stops.
Always got to be sharp, even at the top.
Right. And that brings us back to AI, because even with all those traditional ways of learning, the way people consume information is changing, and RoleCatcher seems to get that.
Makes sense. I mean, we're having this conversation because of a listener who's into RoleCatcher, but it makes you wonder, can AI ever totally replace humans in this job? Will it be algorithms calling the shots on Wall Street one day?
That's the big question, isn't it? It makes people nervous in a lot of industries. AI can analyze data way faster than we ever could, but some things, I think, will always need a human touch.
Like what? What can AI do? Even the super advanced stuff.
One of the most important, and this might sound weird in finance, is empathy. Building trust with clients, understanding what they need, even just picking up on like body language in a meeting. That's emotional intelligence, and humans are still better at that, for now at least.
That's interesting when you think about it. Money's so tied to people's lives, their hopes and fears. It's not just numbers, it's about the stories behind them.
Exactly. And that leads to another thing, intuition. AI can find patterns from the past, but markets are always changing. Sometimes the best decisions, they're based on gut feeling, years of experience, that sixth sense.
So even with algorithms, there's still room for good old-fashioned gut instinct. That's oddly comforting.
Definitely. This might sound deep, but I think part of being a director is bridging that gap between being analytical and being human, between the cold, hard data and what it all means for people.
I like that. It's like they're translating a whole language, making finance make sense to their clients. Not just make sense, but making it, like, usable. Because in the end, it's about helping people reach their financial goals, right? Retiring, leaving something for their kids, just feeling secure.
Absolutely. And that requires trust, which, RoleCatcher says over and over, comes from relationships, those connections you can't get from a computer.
It's like you're not just managing money in this job, but expectations, worries even. Huge responsibility. No wonder RoleCatcher makes a big deal about networking. It's all about those real connections, right?
Totally. In finance, trust is everything. I mean, would you hand your life savings over to some algorithm? Maybe. But most people, they want to talk to a person, someone who gets it, can explain things, has a good track record. And those relationships, they take time. Meetings, events, even just casual chats. It's a whole network of trust with clients and within the industry itself.
Like they say, it's not what you know, but who you know. But in this case, you got to know a lot and have the connections. Well, I feel like we just did a crash course on brokerage firm directors, demanding schedule, the skills, the ethics, even AI. But also, good to know human judgment still matters.
We did cover a lot. From starting out as an assistant all the way up to the top, it's a career that definitely needs you to be dedicated, always learning, and able to handle change.
RoleCatcher really lays it all out, but what I think is most useful is understanding what's underneath. It's not just being good with numbers, but with people. Mixing that analytical stuff with, like we said, emotional intelligence and, hey, maybe a high tolerance for risk.
Couldn't have said it better. And since we're wrapping up, let's go back to that networking thing RoleCatcher mentions. If you could ask one question, just one, to someone actually doing this job, what would really make you understand it? What would show you the heart of it all? Something to think about. Until next time.